Hello, Jordan. You are up first, sir.
Hey Bart, thanks for having me again.
How's it going? You got a hand for us?
I do, yeah. Let
Okay.
me pull it back up here. So recent hand that I played, and I play predominantly in Columbus, Ohio. Mostly it's in some local clubs, similar to what they have in Texas.
Okay.
This one was a hand I played recently at the Shark Tank Poker Club,
The Shark
and
Tank Poker Club.
correct.
Okay.
And they run 2-5 on Mondays and Fridays, and by about the third hand in, it just turns into 2-5-10. And full ring there is eight-handed.
Okay. So eight-handed. Okay.
Correct. This particular hand, we are about 2,700 effective,
Okay.
and I'm in the straddle for 10.
Okay.
The player in this hand is probably the best player that plays in the game regularly. He's got a long established history of pretty much crushing no limit,
Okay.
and he's got about 5 to 6,000, something like that. He covers the table.
Okay.
He opens to 35 in middle position, folds to me. I have King of Spades, King of Diamonds.
Okay.
I three bet to 140,
Okay.
and maybe after I don't know 5-10 seconds, he four bets to 350, and I decided to flat.
Hero call. So there's nobody in between, right? At all?
Correct. We are purely heads up.
All right. So obviously you are three betting out of the straddle, which is interesting because obviously you can be incentivized to sometimes just call with your medium strength hands. So the fact that you're three betting here will show some polarity and some strength. And he four bets to 350, which is also interesting because there's no dead money in between, so he can just call as well. I think now the play for you is probably just to call. It's interesting to kind of balance like a five bet range live. I know one of our coaches, Squish My Tomato, says never really has a five bet range live because it's so hard to balance at reasonable stack depths. The theory goes that you're supposed to put in the extra bet with aces always, ace king suited, but I think calling here with kings to this four bet is definitely fine. So you're off to the flop, and it's probably like 700 and change, right? 715, something like that.
Yeah, I've got it 710, 715, whatever, some number in the low sevens.
Okay.
Now, I will add before I list the flop that this player and we kind of go back and forth pretty regularly, and I do try to avoid playing out of position against him. He seems to get the better of me when he's got position almost every time, regardless of what I have.
Well, okay.
On the flop, we've got Queen of Spades, Six of Spades, Three of Diamonds.
Queen of spades, six of spades, three of diamonds. So obviously you're losing to like queen, queen now. Not that that is necessarily four bet, but just of note.
Yeah, I check.
Mm-hmm.
He down bets to 150. I flat.
So MP bets 150 into like 700 and change. Wow, that is very, very small. About one fifth the size of the pot. I mean, you don't need a whole lot of protection here with kings. I do wonder in an extreme four bet pot, which some hands at this stack depth. I mean, you start 270 big blinds deep, but a little bit shallower because of the open size. What hands get check raised in a spot like this? You've got kings with the king of spades here, which means that you can obviously call across some spade turns. I mean, I think most people would just call. It's just very the sizing is definitely very, very small. So you call. Did you ever consider raising?
In the moment, I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I would raise with some queens and some gutters and some flush draws, but I didn't really consider that in the moment. No.
So we're gonna go 1015. We'll call it here to the turn on Queen 6-3 hero with kings in this four bet pot.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
On the turn, eight of spades. So the flush comes in. I've got
Okay.
the king of spades.
Yep.
I check.
Mm-hmm.
He bets 375,
So MP
and
bets 375 into. So it takes like a one third sizing now, and you call.
I did, yeah.
Okay, so
And I seriously almost considered folding on the turn,
but you have the
as weird
spade.
as
You
that
have the
sounds.
spade though, right? Too in your hand. You have kings with the king of spades.
Yeah, I've got the king of spades.
I don't think you can fold when the third spade comes off because it's just because if you're behind and he doesn't have aces, the ace of spades, you have equity to improve. I mean, this is why it's slightly better to have kings with the king of spades on this board, exactly for this reason. But you put in 750 here on the turn, so now the pot is 1765. You guys started with 2700, and it looks like you've put in maybe like 650 to 700. You probably have like 2000 or so left, right? Somewhere around there.
A little more because it was three. We put a little bit more in the pot. It was 350 plus 150 plus almost 400. So
Yeah.
close to 900 is what each player's put in the pot.
525. Really? 140, 150, and 375, right? My 525 plus 140 is what? 665? You started with 2700?
No, he four bet the pre-flop to 350,
Oh, I'm
and then he
sorry. I'm sorry. I skipped over. Yeah, 350. Okay. So 350, 150 is 500, 875. So you have a little bit less. You have like 1800 left or something like that.
yeah, it's about
Pot size bet.
he sized it up to basically be a pot-sized river
Okay.
shove,
Okay.
which
Okay.
I
What's the
would
river?
anticipate coming almost always.
So what's the river here?
uh, the river is just a complete brick. I don't really remember what it was. It was not a spade. It was not a face card.
All right. I'm gonna
It
put
was
deuce. I'm gonna put deuce of diamonds here.
that works.
Okay. So deuce of diamonds here. You get about one pot size bet left, maybe 1800 to 1850, something like that. I assume you checked.
I checked,
Uh huh.
and he didn't really think long, and he shoves.
So MP jams. I mean, I can tell you the theory here would go is that it's just kind of an interesting spot because of how he constructs his four betting range here, heads up. I mean, he could run like an ace of spades bluff here across these. Like if he had like ace king off or ace queen off, something like that. I mean, not necessarily ace queen. I don't think ace queen would play it like this. That's why it's kind of interesting, like the four bet structure here from him in his spot, like maybe ace king with the ace of spades. If it is four bet off, it's in. I mean, I don't know if ace ace with no spade gets jammed like this. I mean, maybe it does. Maybe it does. And then also he's got queen queen, but you have queen queen as well. So the question then becomes, if it is about a pot size bet left, I think we can kind of look at this from an MDF perspective, like are you in the top 50% of hands that you get here with in this particular spot? Let's say that you defend with tens plus pre-flop and you call across the turn with tens and jacks with the spade and kings with the spade. So obviously kings are better than tens and jacks, you've got that. But then you also sometimes have queens here, three queens that you might have slow played off, and you might have some flushes here as well. It's probably pretty close here. I got to say, it's probably pretty close. I don't think it would be like a big like misstep probably either way, because if a guy is polarizing to a side where if he's ever polarizing to where it's a flush or nothing, then kings with a spade, it's obviously a better combo to have with a spade, but that might not be the case here in this spot. Some people might go with aces for all three streets. I mean, the better the player, the more balanced he's supposed to be, where there should be some bluffs here, but it's a pretty close spot.
Yeah, with having the king of spades in my hand, kind of put me in the binder here. I didn't know whether to call with this hand and maybe fold non-spade kings, or that was kind of, I guess, where I was confused in the hand. And when he shoved the river, I felt like it was a very high likely that he had the ace of spades in his hand.
Well, he can
But
also
then,
he can have some, as people are pointing out, he also can have some ace five of spades, types of holdings here. Obviously, he can't have ace queen spades because the queen is out there. So that's why it's interesting when how he constructs a four bet range, because I don't know how often he has ace king off here with the ace of spades. I think that would be called a lot with nobody else in there. Now, it might be four bet, and then it's a question of, I mean, really what you're looking at as a bluff here is like ace king with the ace of spades, because if he's good, why would he just choose to four bet ace jack off with the ace of spades. I mean, I suppose it's possible, but you're not like squeezing some dead caller in between. I mean, the ranges should be tighter.
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we do have some history where three bets and four bets have been done pretty lightly between the two of us. Um, so I guess, I mean, given our history, that kind of, I mean, most of the time I would, against most players, I would just kind of snap fold here and assume they have the nut flush. But I felt like he was one of the few players that I play with regularly that could be bluffing. But he's also got a ton of value here too.
Yeah, some people are saying ace queen. I don't think ace queen goes this thin. I mean, I suppose you could make a case here where if you had ace queen, ace of spades, maybe, but I don't know. It just seems unlikely that, I mean, then you're really trying to target like king queen suited here. And the hero's going to end up with kings here some of the time too. So it's a close spot. What did you end up doing?
I ended up folding.
Okay, and did you ever find out what the guy had?
No, no, he did not tell me anything at all. A friend of mine was talking with him a few days later, and he told him, or he didn't tell him what he had, but my friend left thinking that conversation that he had the nut flush.
That he had the nut flush. That makes sense. Scott Alford says, wouldn't read too much into the suits here. Just call. Doubt you have many flushes, so definitely call here king, king plus. He can have a merged king, queen. Come on, he's not merged king, queen. And then another guy says, jack, jack would take this line. Come on, guys, give me a break. Sorry, not you, caller. I'm reading some of the live chat. Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of these things where, like you said, like on paper, in theory, it's better to have a spade in your hand, right? Because you block some of the flushes. I don't know how many flushes though you have in this particular spot, so that might up kings up in your range. So it's a situation where if you just want to look at it from an MDF perspective, you're probably up in the top 50%. And then counting the combos, having the spade in your hand being better, it's one of the better spade combos. Actually, probably the only, I guess, I mean, this gets really nitty gritty with structuring, is that you would want to not have the backdoor suit. But I mean, with a spade is going to be one of the better ones. So probably in theory, it's a call on paper. In live play, usually a lot of times good players will have it here in this spot when they're putting in a lot of money. So that's kind of my takeaway. But I appreciate the call. Thank you very much.